Our president doesn't want to use the term. We had another event which probably was, the one yesterday, probably was related. It always happens, but probably was. When I heard about it, I figured maybe not, but it turns out probably was related. Radical Islamic terrorism. And I'll tell you what, we have a president that refuses to use the term.
Well, Donald Trump yesterday during the Republican-Jewish coalition meeting in Washington, D.C., telling the audience President Obama refuses to acknowledge what this actually is. Trump is once again holding a commanding lead in the polls. Part of the reason, some would say, national security issues. According to the latest CNN ORC poll out today, Donald Trump leads with 36%. The closest candidate is Ted Cruz with 16%. Jeb Bush, as you can see right here, has fallen way down with only 3%. Poor Jeb Bush. Let's bring in our political panel now from Newsmax New York, TV and radio commentator Ellis Henican, and Skyping in the chief political correspondent for USA Radio Networks, Scottie Nell Hughes. Always great to talk to the both of you. Good to have you with us.
Thank you.
Now, hey guys, how are you?
All right, well, let's start with this poll, also revealing that among voters, conservatives and Republicans are a lot more enthusiastic about voting in 2016 than Democrats and liberals, the titles that they identify themselves with. Scottie, this is a good sign for the Republican Party in 2016. There does appear to be an enthusiasm gap with Democrats.
I think it's an excellent sign. I think it has a lot to do with the top four candidates. You have Trump, Carson, Cruz, and Rubio, four people that are very much center-right, in fact, to the far right, as might be defined. Supposedly, those people, their followers, are that majority, that silent majority that have awakened. And I always said that. We always knew that amongst the grassroots, that it was the Tea Party that made up the majority of the Republican Party. We just have not been given the chance lately to show our enthusiasm or give us a candidate that we could get excited about.
Ellis, on the other side, you could say the Democratic primary has been a little bit of a snooze fest, and that the DNC isn't really helping things here with their weekend debate schedule, which is somewhere on the dial if you can find it. Are you concerned about the lack of enthusiasm, according to this poll at least, for the Democratic and their ability to get out the base to vote in this election?
My goodness, what an odd interpretation, John. You've got Hillary Clinton, who is dominating the Democratic field, not 16 or is it 18 or 27 Lilliputian candidates who are all clawing at Donald Trump. I mean, imagine, seriously, right? Trump is leading this pack very, very handily. But imagine what happens when normal Americans go out to vote. Not these extreme base Tea Party voters, but, average, non-ideological, everyday Americans. Republicans are going to be in a very, very tough condition if they don't find some better candidates between now and November of next year.
Now, wait a minute here. Are you taking that based on the 25 people that might be showing up at a Clinton rally? I mean, Bernie Sanders is in second place, but bringing in 10 times more people at his rallies. I guarantee you go to a Trump rally, a Cruz rally, it's not Republicans that are there. It's those folks that have never been involved before, that might not have identified as a party before, but are so upset at what the Democratic Party has done to this country that they're willing for anything for real hope and change.
Yeah, Ellis, maybe a couple of months ago I would be inclined to believe you and agree with you that these aren't the average voters, but these people continue to show up and participate in these polls. They are certainly excited, and the crowds at these Trump events are not getting any smaller, so if they're going to show up to a rally, why would they not show up to the polls?
Listen, I mean, clearly they will. I mean, there is a little bit of a base way, way over on the extreme in Scottie land where people love these folks. The crazier they are, the wilder stuff they say, the more they love it. Donald Trump can talk about just the most bizarre and non-facts-based stuff. There is an audience always, John, for ignorance, for prejudice, for silliness in politics. You can turn out a crowd, but don't mistake that with what most Americans, average, sane, non-ideological, non-nut job people feel, because they're two very different audiences. You know that.
Really? Those were a lot of name callings, which is what you expect from the Democrats that are getting very desperate right now, like Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. I mean, look at the two pathetic candidates that you have right there. If you think those two represent the Democratic Party today, then you've got a lot bigger problems in the 2016 elections. The people today are fed up with the last 8 years of policy that this Democratic Party has given us. So if you want to sit there and call names, why don't you call liars, thieves and people that have literally been fear-mongers for the last 8 years to get elected. That would be called the Democratic Party, hence why the Republicans are having such a great chance in 2016 of taking the White House.
I think also telling in this poll for both of you is that Ted Cruz is now working his way up in the polls. And let's just say if you're one of those folks to subscribe to the idea that when the field winnows down, there's only a few people left, that folks are going to turn away from Donald Trump, I think Ted Cruz is right there to pick up those Trump voters. And he's not so far out there as you would say, Ellis.
Well, you're absolutely right, John. I mean, he's in a perfect position to pick up those voters when Carson and Trump fade away. Now, don't forget, I mean, you know, he's about the least popular guy in the Republican delegation in the Senate. I'm not sure very many Republican senators would actually come around.
Yeah,
and
but they'll
support
come
him.
around. They'll come around pretty quick if he becomes the nominee. Ted Cruz is doing.
Well, let's see.
We'll see. But
you know,
talk about that enthusiasm, Gad. That's something to watch because those voters will also be enthusiastic for Ted Cruz as well. Ellis Henican, always a pleasure. Even though you did call some names out there, and Scottie Nell Hughes, great to talk to you as well. President Obama may have met with world leaders in Paris to talk about climate change, but it appears he has plans of his own. The New York Times has reported that President Obama is planning to implement massive climate change regulation without ratification from Congress. This means the president is abusing his executive power to funnel global warming money at will and wherever he wants. But is there even solid science behind the global warming claim? Former Reagan White House advisor and NASA scientist John Casey says no. In the compelling book Dark Winter, Inside Dark Winter, you'll see the NOAA satellite data that proves the Earth is actually cooling. Casey exposes the global warming myth and presents you with the hard facts and figures to unmask the annual $22 billion money grab. Get John Casey's revealing book and DVD absolutely free with our special offer. That's a savings of more than $35. You can claim this special offer by clicking on newsmax.com/global warming or by calling our toll-free number 800-780-3417. That's 800-780-3417.